we know as echo. Reading a specific moment in a narrative creates the memory of another. This phrase provides a method to document the fictional event previously discussed, linking past and present in a narrative. Suddenly I had a craving and I went to the store to buy a package of cookies. I started eating them before going out again. In the end, we can imagine that later I was all full of crumbs, as I said at another time. But that doesn't matter. At the end of the text of this version, we have this other part. Lisa, when I was back in the apartment, I wondered how I could tell that short and simple trip so that it would be interesting. This is the end that the basic version has. But then there is an addition. On the table, I noticed a large box of cookies I had purchased the previous day and completely forgotten about. It was a delightful surprise. When we read box of cookies, immediately we'll always cherish the memory of the cookies I purchased that day. We will have that echo, and from that, we will have a different image, perhaps, of this version of me, of this character that is in this story. And now let's do something a little more sophisticated. Let's suppose that this same story is told in another version of the exercise. The exit, the walk, and so on. Yet now, shortly after we began, we add a reference to a place on the street outside the house, far from where I am. This adds a new layer to the narrative, expanding its scope. There is a hole, a sewer that has no lid, and that it is there and that the cars perhaps elude it. But that is there, open to the middle of the street. Imagine the story of the walk continues, and it is mentioned again that there is the hole in the sewer. This detail adds a new layer to the narrative, expanding its scope as it highlights the presence of a hazard. That was probably marked at some point, but now the mark has disappeared. The rod or stick marking it was removed later. Suppose the walk continues to be reported, mentioning someone nearly fell. Or, as I mentioned earlier, cars might be involved. This adds depth to the narrative, emphasizing the persistent hazard that was once marked but now lacks any warning. In this updated version of the exercise, let's aim to achieve a distinct narrative effect rather than falling into common tropes. Avoid that hole as much as you can. If we proceed like this, we will deviate from what is very popular in plots. By the way, which is known as suspense. As this version of me strolling down the street edges nearer to that hole, whose position, size, and perhaps even depth we know precisely, drawing ever closer with each step. As readers, spectators, or listeners of this story, we might begin to experience anxiety as events unfold, drawing us into the suspense. We are going to start worrying due to what might occur to that character, that version of myself nearing the edge of the hole. Will it fall in? The suspense builds as it approaches the brink. Will it avoid it? Will it even see it? The suspense is a narrative technique, a plot device that enables authors to provide readers or audiences with additional information beyond what the characters themselves know. This extra knowledge fosters concern for the character's well-being and can heighten tension and engagement in the story because the audience understands more than the characters do. Let's see how I made this example. In this other text file, which begins as the basic version with the same words, "One morning I left home for a walk." This initial reference sets the stage for what unfolds next. It is about suspense. Near my room there was a sewer without a lid, and I was unaware of it. This created a sense of danger and uncertainty. That didn't used to happen there. That's another reference. The information I'm sharing is known to me, but the character hasn't discovered it yet in the narrative. In the same way, another reference is this about the deteriorating condition of public infrastructure in the neighborhood where I reside. And another one, during the night, someone had left a stick in the hole to point it out. But at dawn, the stick had vanished. The reader is informed of all these details, while the character remains unaware. It's crucial to highlight that this information is provided to the audience, not the character, maintaining suspense. These data that are offered to create the suspense are not referred to neither to the past nor to the future. That is, they are part of the same present moment, intertwined within the same sequence of events occurring simultaneously as they unfold. As the character navigates his way along the busy avenue, the hole remains ever present, lurking somewhere in the vicinity, almost as if it were patiently waiting for him to notice its existence. The character keeps walking, getting closer to the hole without seeing it, distracted by something else, crosses the street, takes the pedestrian bridge. Maybe the hole is right beneath the bridge, which is why he can't see it. All these details are part of the same present moment, intertwined within the unfolding sequence of events. We might think as an observer with a more advantageous perspective than the character's own, able to see both the character and the whole simultaneously, offering a broader understanding of the unfolding situation, and that observes how one approaches the other, let's say in real time. Suspense creates an effect. Stories employing suspense effectively engage the audience's attention. You can either imply that something is about to occur with the information provided, or you can directly show or tell us. This choice influences how suspense is built and engages the audience. What generally occurs as you near the conclusion of the narrative, when in some way that suspense created is resolved in some event. In this case, in this example, that's how it goes. The version of myself that takes this walk, my character remarks, I still couldn't spot the hole. I took 3 steps toward the street and naturally I fell. We had all been anticipating it to happen during the suspenseful moment that was inevitably leading to this event. Entire development of this narration, and finally it did. Box. Perhaps it's the one who highlights or proposes the suspense, which here is the characters fall into the sewer, that adds to the tension. This suggestion heightens the anticipation of the inevitable event. Explicitly mentioned. As I said, I took 3 steps toward the street and fell. Alternatively, it might be that the suspense is heightened by this event. That is not directly stated, yet anyone engaging with the story, be it reading, watching, or listening, can envision it in their mind, filling in the details. If suspense is crafted clearly and emphatically, it might not be necessary to explicitly state it. The audience can imagine the details themselves. With all its letters that such a thing happens, whoever is watching, reading, listening to the story is already convinced what is destined to occur will surely take place, leading the story to conclude in this manner. It may wrap up slightly earlier than expected. Of the resolution of the suspense, because that resolution takes place in our conscience, in our readers' heads. Craft 3 distinct variations of your core narrative, incorporating various elements, respectively, of anticipation, echo, and suspense. In the attached material, you will find the files that you have already seen on this screen. You can see in more detail the versions that I made, and see you in the next lesson.